Well, here we get to talk about and fight over which board we think is better, right?
No.
We've done not at all.
We've done the KT videos in the past where we compared the lineups of the KT Downwind board. So there's the Surf, the standard Dragonfly, and then the Crossing Pro. If you haven't seen those videos, they're on our YouTube. Go find them. Maybe there's a link here. I don't know how this whole thing works.
We're
not good at YouTube. It's right here, right? But we wanted to compare KT with Sunova. In our opinion, in my opinion, and Josh never agrees with me, these are two of the best out there. I think the KT and the Sunova lines are the two best board options out there, especially for the downwind line. So with the KTs, like I said, there's the Crossing, the Standard, and the Surf. Sunova has the Aviator, and then this year they have the Aviator Race. It's all one model, just like the Dragonfly, with a couple different options for if you're more looking for short, wide, or long, skinny.
And the Aviator Race isn't even notated on the board itself. It'll just say Aviator with different dimensions. So
really?
Like on our shelf, we have like a couple different Aviators. We have
no. The Aviator Race is a new one.
Is a new one that's not
out yet.
Here. Okay, yeah.
So I think those do say Race on them.
All right, but the boards we have, they all say Aviator, and you have some that are 17 inches wide, and in the same volume and similar length, or different volume, same length, you'll have something that's much narrower, much wider. So all in the Aviator family, just like KT has everything in the Dragonfly family.
But yeah, we wanted to compare the two. So this is a Dragonfly Surf. This is my personal board. You can tell it's been used a bit. It's got the stickers on there. I love this board. This is the Aviator version of this board, comparable Aviator version of this board.
And I've been using this board because it fits in the back of my truck.
Yeah, so I've used this board for probably the last just about year now. Love it. This one, I haven't used this exact model, but I've used a different Aviator, one of the longer ones, and loved it as well. And we just want to kind of go over the differences between the two boards in the same discipline, right? So like this is the Surf model of the Dragonfly, and this is kind of, I guess, like the Surf model of the Aviator. So this one here that I've been riding,
these are the same. For what you're trying to say is they're the same dimensions,
similar,
as close as they can be, right?
Yeah, so this Dragonfly Surf here is 7'6", 19.25, 112 liters, and the Aviator is 7'8", 18.5, 110 liters. So on paper, very similar. Some of the design differences that you'll see with these boards. First off, you're going to lose almost an inch in width with the Sunova, and the way they do that is, people get scared, especially like when I'm teaching lessons, and they go, oh, it's so narrow. If it's 18 or 18.5, some of these Aviators are 17, 17.5, and they're like, not a chance, I can't do it. The KTs, like when we have these on the wall here side by side, you can actually see like the Dragonflies bubble out a little further off the wall, like when they're pressed against the wall, than the Aviators. And that's because they have the really squared off boxy rails.
Right.
So the Dragonflies do have a little more width on them, and it's kind of in the hips, right? They've got that little bubble there versus the Sunova, which is like basically boxy square rails.
Yeah, it's pretty flat right here, so you lose that, 1/4 inch per side or 1/2 inch per side, where it's not rounded out on the rail.
So
it's essentially, what you're saying is it's essentially a very, very similar feel as far as width on the water, but this is just, the rails are more straight and those are more rounded.
Yeah, what I've found, and what I think a lot of board designers have found now, that, the square rails, this right here, anything that's flat is going to lead to stability. So you can go narrower if you have these boxy square rails, as opposed to the rounder ones. The benefit of the rounder ones is they're a little bit smoother through the water. With the square rails tends to come square edges, and square edges might have you tracking, might have you getting stuck in the turn a little bit more.
Like if you're parawinging with the board, or learning like light wind winging with the downwind board, this is going to track straight less, like on takeoff.
Right.
You'll be able to maneuver, like when you have side chop coming and things like that. This will be a little bit maybe more forgiving in that environment, where this is a little bit more straight ahead. Like if you're paddling and you want to be going straight as an arrow and getting up, this is definitely, the more square rails are a little bit geared towards tracking.
And the the narrower shape is going to be a little bit faster. It's going to have less drag there with the narrower shape. So, but yeah, boxier rails, square edge here. Come to the bottom, and both boards have similar designs here again on the bottom. Very flat on the KC, the Sunova Aviator, very flat with a little bubble here in the nose just to help break the water up. Very similar here. They have KT has this little bit of double concave. It's very shallow, so it's basically flat. And then again,
and I thought there was this is basically just dead flat, huh?
Yeah,
I almost thought there was
a little round nose here just to help break up the water. And then where the Dragonflies get a lot of their stability with the flat sections here is this big flat box in the back here. I mean, this is all stability. Again,
this is
similar
charge.
concept here. Very flat, all flat throughout. And then, a little pulled in on the tail here. Just that's for release when you're paddling up out of the water.
The boxes are in very similar positions relative to the length of the boat.
Yeah, similar shapes, similar designs. Yeah, boxes. I think the Sunovas actually have their boxes maybe an inch or two further forward. The Dragonflies have the 1 degree shim built into the board. So for some people, they hate that. I'm not a huge fan of the 1 degree angle because I like my foils to ride how they ride. Like my prone boards, I don't have angle in my board, so I don't want to have that when I put it on my downwind board. The
and is
Sunovas
which direction is the angle?
So it's a 1 degree angle of positive angle. So the front of the box is lower than the tail. And that KT did that to help with low end lift. So they want the
board to ride a little bit nose up when you're at takeoff.
Yeah. So the idea behind it was to it's kind of cheating, right? It's to give your foil a little extra lift at low speed, which is nice. But when you start going fast, it starts to be a problem. And when you're downwinding and you're trying to go fast,
so if you're downwinding, it's a good thing to remember on the KT boards. If you're downwinding in a insanely fast section, like say you're going to do a big Maliko run or something, you'll want to reverse that shim or at least neutralize it to give your foil either flat or a little bit of rake, like the race kite foilers do when you for speed, right? So what you're saying is exactly right. It's like that low end lift. Super helpful, a little bit of shim. People do it all the time, but then if you're going to be going really fast that day, maybe you want to remove that.
Yeah, so like I know some guys when they ride the Dragonflies, they put a shim, a plate shim on their board to take this 1 degree out, so that levels the foil. Simple to do, but just something to keep an eye on. We did have, when we first got this model of Dragonfly, last year's model didn't have this, but this model of Dragonfly, they put this 1 degree in. And when we first started selling this model of board, I think we had like 2 or 3 customers call us complaining, like,
it's not right.
What's wrong? It's wheeling. It feels stupid. And we didn't know, and obviously weren't able to tell them at the time. Since then, they started shimming the plate. They love the board. It's great, but something to know is with the Dragonflies, you're going to have that degree of shim.
Well, and something to pay attention to. Something to pay attention to is like if you have a Dragonfly, make sure like if you're switching boards, if you're renting gear, if you're in a different place, know what shim you're riding and figure out how to reverse engineer that with whatever board you're going to. Or I rode a hollow crossing in Maui and couldn't figure out the board for a couple of days, and I wonder if that hollow crossing has a little bit different bottom angle than this one, and it just changed up the way that I was feeling this.
I don't know. Yeah, and that's
flat's good. It's always the same.
Yeah. So, but yeah, something to keep in my mind if you're going from a Dragonfly to a different model, like Josh said, understand that it's going to feel different, and that also changes your mast placement. Like I found with the KTs, I ride my mast a little further back. Because I'm getting that extra lift, I don't need it so far forward. Whereas on the Sunovas, I slide my mast a little further forward to make up for that low end, for that extra lift. So the builds on both these boards are phenomenal. I personally think the Sunovas are a little harder, a little stronger, with the bamboo veneer, carbon, all of that together. Again, the KTs are made at Cobra. It's industry standard at this point. Great boards. In terms of weight, they end up coming in at the same weight.
Yeah, it was 12.5 when we weighed these boards. It was almost identical in weight. And one thing I'd like to add to your strength in the construction is that, carbon has strength for flex, but it's more prone to cracking with like sudden, or hard things. So a paddle brittle. Strike or
it's more brittle than glass.
Yeah, you drop a tool or a bolt, while you're bolting up, and you can crack the bottom of your board.
Or you drop it off the rack.
Yeah, I was just showing a customer a board, and it just slipped out of my fingers when I was going to set it down, and it cracked the tail. Now this has carbon on the rails. But their concept is this wood veneer is hoping to retain most of the rigidity of a carbon layup, but give you a little bit more forgiveness to be a little longer lasting with a wood veneer and a carbon or fiberglass layup on top of that. And then what's interesting is just looking at it. When you see what you think. This one's going to be heavier than this one. This is all carbon.
This board does look heavier, right?
You just think it's going to be heavier. We weighed it, and they both come in at like 12.5 pounds. So that was shocking.
Yeah, and then I guess just like little details with them. They both come with the traction pads. Obviously, the deck pads set in. I think they're both put in the right spot. The most annoying thing is sometimes you get a board from a brand that. Like their board doesn't match up with your foil, and we've used both of these boards with multiple brands, and you can put the foil in the right spot, and you're going to be standing within the traction pads as well. They both have vent plugs. The KT has the vent plug in the tail. The Sunova has it up here towards the nose. Really, no difference there in terms of performance or ability to vent. Leash plugs. The KT leash plug is set back a little bit further. I have had some people have to get longer leashes for the KT boards and then shorter leashes for the Sunova boards because, like for me personally, if I use the same leash from my Dragonfly on my Sunova, it flaps, like it's back here slapping because the plug is a couple inches closer, so it's got more slack on it and it's just slapping on the tail of the board. Just little things to think about. But again, these two boards are both very similar in overall shape and design. In terms of performance, they're both, like we said, the two best out there.
Yeah. I like the looks of the Sunova a lot right now.
Yeah, they're
very clean looking.
I mean, yeah, it's
modern,
totally different,
design.
right? This is flashy. I think the new models for 26 for the KTs have the neon yellow color option as well. The Sunovas, they all just come in this
black and gray
colorway.
Black and white. Tan. What is this color? Beige?
Like
off-white? Like off-white.
Off-white, yeah. Pricing, they're both similar priced. I know like the Dragonflies, depending on which model and which size you're getting, run between like 24 to 27. If you go for the hollow, I think it's a little bit more. The Sunovas, they might be like 100 or 200 less, I think. Like around 23 to 25. But yeah, overall, both similar products, similar boards, great options for anybody looking to sup foil, to downwind, light wind parawing. The surf models are great for the light wind stuff as well, light wind winging, parawinging.
This goes for all the models. So we're comparing a surf to a Sunova equivalent to a surf, but we could do the exact same thing with a standard Dragonfly, the exact same thing with a crossing.
Let's do it with the crossing model.
All right.
So we do have
So that 8.8 right there.
You want to pull that out for me?
You trust me?
No. And then...
So you can see how much more narrow this 8.8 is than the 7.8. And
Here you go.
literage is almost the same. This is 112 liters. No, 110 liters. This is 115, but not that much different for quite a different shape.
Yeah, and then that's the
Should I line them up nose to nose, tail to tail?
Crossing Pro.
I'm gonna crack it.
You're gonna drop it, huh? Put it over on that rack.
I just wanted to see it like pound for pound. They're almost the same.
Yeah, they're both. I think they're both 8.8s. I think this one might be an 8.10. Right?
It's almost like the good builders have kind of figured out the shapes. It's like
It's
the guys
like
that have been
the
building.
Tardrews, Marcus,
Dude.
and then Keith and Kane and those guys over there have figured out.
Here's the deal. This is something that I would like to share, is that I have a value at the shop that I don't buy downwind boards from people that don't have the time, money, and resources to be doing multiple revisions and prototypes of their boards. So KT has tons of riders in Hawaii, Maui, actually all over the world that are testing their products on a regular basis. Each year, I've gotten a couple custom downwind boards from Keith, and each year he's making dozens and dozens. I mean, like we're talking like 20, 30 prototypes, testing out different shapes and all this stuff in order to get his next version of the board. Same thing with Sunova. Marcus Tardrew has been designing boards for Sunova for years. They were downwind paddle SUP racers before they started SUP downwind. They've been SUP downwinding since before I knew foiling even existed. They've been in this game for a long time, and they're constantly building boards. Ben Tardrew is constantly building boards with Marcus. They're constantly doing prototypes and all that stuff. So that's why these guys have landed on actually pretty similar shapes, not because they're copying each other, but they both know what works, and they have enough riders and enough time and designs to prove it.
These are more of like the race-specific models. Like that's the Dragonfly Crossing. That's an 810, 1775, 115. This is the more race-specific Aviator model. This is an 8.8, 17.5, 115. So very similar dimensions, very similar overall like footprint shape. And again, the differences are between the surf models are pretty much the same differences here. Boxy, square rails, a little bit rounder. The Crossing does go a little more square.
Still kind of a double concave
on the rails. And then, yeah, same very subtle double concave through here, basically dead flat through here, little round in the nose here, same kind of round, a little bit flatter through the nose here. They both have very flat decks throughout the board, like it's pretty flat. This has like a little bit of a nose kick, same thing here. Same tail shapes here from the surf models. And then, yeah, I mean, just I've ridden both. So this I've had both of these exact models, and they felt very similar. I think the Sunova, the Aviator, paddles a little bit faster with the square rails. It is a little more stable, even though it is a little bit narrower. But the KT, I use this model board for over a year, and loved it. So the point we're trying to make here is these are two of the best. They're two of the best, like for a reason, like Josh was saying. A lot of money and time goes into getting you guys the best boards out there, and we make sure to stock them. You know, we try to only stock things here that we both personally love. Sometimes it's something that I personally love that he doesn't, and I'll fight to stock it, and then he'll be wrong, and
then I finally like it
that I hate, and we'll stock that. But whatever we have here, we try, and we're happy to let you try it as well. We have our demo options here. We have demo boards at the shop here for you to come try. So if you want to give something a go, swing by, send a run with us. We'd love to have you come out, and yeah, hit us up here on the shop at the shop. Shoot us a text, give us a call, DM us, whatever you need, and we'll take care of you.